This video is called Stop Feeding Satan. So, I found a video online to explain the book Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon, because I want you to know, and they're spraying, so I have a little bit of itchiness in my nose. I want you to know that rock and roll was created. And what this book says is all of these people and the covert ops and the dark heart of the hippie dream by David McGowan, there is evidence that these people were not even musicians and that they could come out with a brand new piece of music in like 4 days, like a whole album, and yet they didn't even know how to play or sing music. So Jim Morrison, he went from like a square peg whose father was a military guy to like an immediate singer, but he never played any music. Now, I'm a singer and I'm also a musician, and so is Claude. And I was thinking about this weird concept, like, how is it possible that these people just like got on stage and then had never played an instrument, had never sang in their lives, and then were on stage? And it was because they're all MK Ultras. So rock and roll and all of it is feeding Satan. All of it, every bit of it. And if you read this book, you're going to understand how many ritual deaths also happened with these people. And weirdly, it was like they would get to like their 27th birthday, just like Kurt Cobain, and then be gone, like be dead. Because at 27 years old, you're about to go into your Saturn return. And Claude and I were discussing this, like, why at 27 years old? So there might be numerology to that, but also as an astrologer, I was like, oh, because when they went to their 28th year, they would begin their Saturn return, and by the 29th year, they might leave the whole music scene behind. So they were ritually sacrificed often before that could happen. That's amazing to me. But, you know, as a musician, and Claude and I have recorded, Claude's been on more CDs than I have, but I also produced our own CD. Like, I would work for weeks on like a poem and some often like praise to the divine. You know, I sang a lot of Sufi poetry and that kind of music. Not that I'm ever listening to that music anymore, because I've stepped out of that construct. I've changed since then. But like my fingers would be bleeding playing the guitar over and over again, trying to get like the music right for the song that I was singing. And Claude, who's a master musician, he could just come in and improv anything, and put down one track and it was perfect. But for me, I had to work very hard, and they would, in the studio, layer in different tracks so that if I was playing the drum or if I was playing the little hand cymbals, which are like tiny little tambourines, or my harmonium or my guitar or whatever I was playing, like I had to figure out each one of those instruments to lay down a track. And yet these guys, they weren't musicians at all. Some really strange stuff about how they allegedly met each other, as if they weren't all MK Ultras. But I want to tell you, and I want to show you why it is incredibly important, and I'm going to play you a short video of why you should not be listening to, or letting your children listen to, or opening your radio show with this kind of music.
I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on and is placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master and it's placed on an altar sitting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master.
But they have dual citizenship with their race because we're Cuban.
Wow. Did you just hear that? So they have, and that was the interesting thing about this book, is like the music popped out of nowhere by non-musicians, but they were all part of these covens, these secret societies. And then they would have, like, they would summon demons and do a ritual so that everybody who listened to that, every 8-track, every cassette, every LP, you know, because I'm from that era, would have that frequency in it. And then they would do all of these ritual murders. And so when you play that music or you listen to that music, it opens you to the feeding program of these egregores, these anti-life satanic sacrifice rituals. That's what's happening. So please, if you make a living, you know, covering songs, playing, you know, gigs at night, please stop. Please stop feeding Satan. Like, there's no way that we can start a community unless it's based in truth. So in my last video about exorcism, I was very excited to like figure out how we could get together. And I was like, well, first we have to do some like scrubbing, like fixing our minds, like the traumas that we have received. So that's the main thing right there, is like they summon these demonic entities so that every time you listen to this music or you play this music, you're feeding that demon. The other thing is like, why did the Antichrist even exist? Like, what is this? And I've been thinking a lot about Steiner's work and his predictions around Ahriman, and I have a book in the house with his last like eclipse path and the apocalypse that was from last year, 2024. And then they're not doing any more of these astrology type of journals because they think that that was it, that, you know, this was the mark of the beast. So I'm also going, like, all those schools, like the Steiner schools and everything, I now realize, even though I followed all of that stuff, that they were summoning by always talking about this, like, apocalypse, Ahrimanic, Antichrist stuff. They were always summoning it and, like, putting it into the children. And one of my children did go to a Waldorf school for a while, and now I'm like, wow, what was going on? And, you know, they also say, like I have said, that there were at least 2 different avatars. They also say, like I have said, one was from the house of the Solomon, which is not my people, and one was from, like, a good Christ figure. So I'm going to hold with that. And I also am in alignment with what I've heard and explored and read documentaries about, that the good Christ was never crucified. So I'm also like, why did the Christ consciousness grid fail us so that so many people would, you know, basically give away their souls? It's because we have been feeding the anti-life, anti-Christ, satanic thing on Sundays through these stupid rituals, and even the music there, all of which is in 440, which also destroys your pineal gland. So stop feeding Satan. Stop it. Because we have basically doomed ourselves so that the real Christ, so that the real Christ consciousness, which is what you are, has been manipulated and is possibly even psychopathic at this point, because everyone's waiting for some Ahrimanic Antichrist and also waiting for some Messiah, which is actually inside of you, which is you. You're your Messiah. And it's a matter of taking responsibility and stop feeding Satan. How can we live in a community of truth if the children hear this music? my children did not hear this music. We didn't have music or TVs or radios in my household. Like, it was this. And this is why, even still today, my friend Viola sent me her CD, which is glorious, but the only place I could play it is in my car, because I don't have any of this music playing stuff. And I've told you also, like, I listened to Cosmic Law by Aurora, the Flying Rainbow Lasagna creator. And when I listened to that, and last night I was dancing to her new Cosmic Law, which is in 432, I was trying to hear like the true numeric sequences of true music. And the only other person that I think has ever made truly celestial music that has like the numbers correct in the sequences is Bach. That's the only one I ever connected with. And Claude used to play Bach, and it was incredible. Like, we'd be in this ancient cathedral type of room, and he would play Bach, and I would just like go into other realities, like other space-time realities through Bach. And that's what Aurora's music is like too. So I want to again suggest that you study the Full Spectrum Human and her new music called Cosmic Law, and dance to that. And as I'm doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance, like, I'm trying to hear when she's taking us through different portals to the numbers that are perfect and correct in her music, but I can't quite hear it. And now I think it's because when I was growing up, this music was playing. Like, I think it already messed up my ability to hear the sequences of divine music. So I think that stop feeding Satan, stop listening to the music, do not dance to that music, and know that every single one of these was an MK Ultra, every single one of them. And if you look at the back, they name virtually everyone, including John Denver, Eric Clapton, obviously all those other really gross people, but it was mixed in with the movie stars too, so the movie stars would be part of it. That was all an MK Ultra program. Now what I'm also going to get to is there has been more research that I can't talk about, so I'm going to ask you to read this. And you can certainly take a screenshot. This is why I've had to make very difficult decisions, like not to go into the community celebration yesterday in this town, which was called Old Home Days, because they were playing that music. They play that music, and everybody has this in their body now. That's my, that word, which I can't say, which you're not allowed to say. This in their body now. And if you get that on you, or that's circulating in your body, it destroys completely your pineal gland. Right now I'm sitting in the place that I sit for my morning sun gazing, and this is all that you need to do, is kind of just gaze at the sun and let it touch your third eye. And yes, this is a fake sun, but there is a real sun behind this sun. And let it touch your third eye for like 40 or even 40 minutes to an hour every morning. And if your eyes are used to it and kind of looking through the trees, you see how my eyes look? They're just like taking in that light. And I'm not very hungry anymore. What's interesting is Klon and I, we don't even eat very much anymore, because the true Christ light is supposed to be coming through. But yes, they keep putting the aerosols in the sky, and all the satellites create this like disgusting grid, with the imposter sun, and then our real sun is behind that. And we do the same thing at night. So I'm just letting you see how I take in light, and that activates that third eye. Now, the interesting thing, what this pathologist has discovered by studying the bodies of the persons that are already passed and have already given up their soul and are likely uploaded into the metaverse, is that the pineal gland is completely destroyed. And as I said in my conversation with Nish at the Cosmic Salon, please watch that. Please listen to that. It's actually just a video. It's not a video, it's a podcast. But I said one of the very strong possibilities for this year is a pole shift. And I explained what a pole shift was in a holographic reality in a matrix. And it's basically a reversal of the magnetosphere. I don't think it's going to be like a crustal displacement, but the sun, in order to get rid of all this technology, which has to go, every bit of this technology has to go. And if you can't live without technology, you have to go. So I want you to know that. Or if you're part technology, you have to go. So I want you to know when the pole shift occurs, it's a reversal of the magnetosphere. That's what's happening. And that's what I tried to explain, if I can remember correctly, in that conversation with Nish at the Cosmic Salon. And it was called Navigating the High Seas of 2025. And it's up to us. Like, we have to put all of this crap in entropy in the garbage can, because when the magnetosphere reverses, none of your records, CDs, or 8-track tapes, or like musical compositions are going to be here anyways. Like, don't be attached to anything, because it's all going, folks. As soon as that sun does that pole shift of the magnetosphere, it's all going. But the thing is this. Here's the important thing. If your third eye has this in it and is being completely decimated, you're not going to be able to see. Because the way that you see, and to my best ability, that's the way I see, is through your third eye. And then your crown chakra is what opens you to the etheric world of source consciousness. But if your endocrine system is not working because of this, because you now have this inside of your gonads, and this professor, Arnie Burkhart, said that he, as a pathologist also, that he took the gonads of a 28-year-old who died of this. I did use my middle finger that time, and I didn't mean to, but anyways, that was funny. They don't have any sperm left. There's no semen. So the other topic that I'm going to get into in terms of truth soon is like the predator mind. Like, how did this happen? How were we not protected from this? How did this even go on? Yes, we're within a demiurge structure, but where's the police force of the Christ consciousness? And the 440 music that these people all put out is also destroying your third eye. So if you're playing some instrument, please put it in 432. Like, have a piano tuner come to your house and put it in 432. Or if you play like an electronic instrument, I guess there are programs that can convert it to 432. So please do that so that you can see when the magnetosphere reverses, because that's the type of pole shift we're going to have. And as I said, I did not realize this was possible, that the artificial fourth dimension of the poltergeist realm could even be taken down. And I don't even like to call it dimension. It's a place within this torus field that satanic space fleet of unresolved dead consciousness has parked itself. And so it's all one organism. It's all one system environment. But they have been ripped away, and we have to now do the exorcism on the ground. It's up to you to throw all this music away. Because, as I said, when the magnetosphere changes, nothing's going to be here that's not nature. And it's based on your blueprint. So if your blueprint is also messed up, you're no longer part of nature. Like, you're part of the machine, and so you're going too. So this gets into, like, if these changes are happening, which some doctors are talking about. Let me just get you the photo because I can't say these things. So here's the stuff from, gosh, I can't show you these pictures because the sun is coming at my phone really strong right now. But anyways, look into Naomi Wolf. She has shared all of this stuff that there's complete depression that happens when the takes over all of your endocrine system, because the endocrine system is hooked into the chakras. So if you have demons in your endocrine system, you can't feel happy. Like, you're basically in a state of psychosis. And I would say, we're at a minimum of 90% psychosis on the planet anyways. And a lot of people are still sharing secretions with these people. Like, you can't, you must not. And not only that, but you need to get all of this out of your body immediately. So I'm going to talk about some wonderful fruits and vegetables because I don't know how else to say this. Every morning, I take enormous amounts of enzymes from pineapples. Also, black cumin is an awesome herb. Turmeric is an awesome herb, as is oregano, as is thyme. These are all things that break down. The other thing is from sunflowers, which I have growing all over the yard. You can make liposomal vitamin C, and you can also buy that in a liquid form. And then I also am taking an enormous amount of tart cherry, like every night, because that is very high in melatonin, and we need to get this light onto our skin, like the light behind the light, and you connect to that light behind the light through your third eye. So it's absolutely imperative that you get this stuff out of your body, like every day. Huge amounts of melatonin, and melatonin is in pistachios and walnuts and eggs and salmon, those little orange goji berries, and tart cherry. So eat enormous amounts of that every day, along with pineapple and turmeric. And that's just kind of how we eat anyways. So that was my video. I can't show you any of the pictures, but I want you to know, like, you need to stop feeding Satan, and you need to stop feeding these things by sharing secretions with people. It needs to be like imperative, folks, because I think that this plasma event of the pole shift with the magnetosphere is coming quite soon. And you don't want to go where they want to put you, okay? You want to go straight through the sun, or the sun's going to go straight through us. It doesn't matter, because it's, to me, it's all holographic, and it's going to go, the other way. And then we're going to end up somewhere else. And that's imperative, back in a natural, pristine, organic world, where this, just so you know, had this big conversation with a rebel spirit yesterday. And remember, these are paid clients, but I'm calling them rebel spirits. And I explained, like, this is like a fractal that came out of Atlantis after the fall of Atlantis. And this is a fractal room where we're supposed to be working this out. So this matrix and this whole solar system is that fractal room. And what's going to happen is the sun will pass through, and we'll pass through the sun, and it will pop back into an organic world. But you have to keep yourself clean, and you have to stop feeding Satan. So, you can listen to Viola Rose has beautiful, beautiful music, and her link is in the description in that video that I did with her, The Joyful Spirit of Viola Rose. And I also put a link in the description when I was talking to the lioness Slavica. There's a link in the description there for Cosmic Law by Aurora. So listen to different music, and when you listen to Aurora's music, you should be listening to the perfect numeric sequences that will allow you to travel through hyperspace. It's very important. But as I said, I think it's this stuff that has kind of messed us up so that we can't hear, see, and feel how to travel through hyperspace with true cosmic music, because we have a lot of getting this other crap out of us. And that's your job. That's how you have to stop feeding Satan. That's how you have to do the massive exorcism so that we can make communities based on truth. Okay, my loves? Good to see you all. Do your sun gazing in the morning and at night. and connect with your third eye. Okay, much love.